Hi guys, this is Elisa and this is the Knitting Stories podcast. Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining me today. So today will be a regular podcast with finished objects, whips, and not much else because I do not have any acquisitions, or at least whips are also acquisitions, so and at the end the most important thing for me will be a sort of announcement that I will have to do, which really is about my personal life and is something that is really important to me. So I don't know if you want to stick to the end, just know that there will be some personal content, and I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I don't know how I feel about sharing that kind of information with the world, but I think that this space is also for me to think about what happens in my life. So I thought I could give it a try, and stop with the rambling. I've just started and I'm just already rambling, and why not? We can start with the regularly scheduled program. So we can start with finished objects. And actually, when it comes to finished objects, I have just one. Guys, the last month, April, was just, or this month actually, was just crazy because I had my the last exam of my master's degree, and so I had to study like crazy. I had to study a lot. And because I just had 15 days to prepare an exam about the history of museums, of contemporary museums, and that is a lot to remember, especially when it comes to architecture and things like that. So I didn't have much knitting time, but at least what I did was a test knit actually, and the result of this test knit is actually what I'm wearing today. And what I'm wearing today is still an unnamed pattern. The designer, who is Fiber Tales, and I love her. I just love all of her patterns. I love her style. She has so many garments that are inspired, which have details inspired to nature, to animals and flowers, and I just love that. So when I saw the test call for this vest, which we will call flower vest, I just knew I had to apply. Unfortunately, Lerke, I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name, but she chose me, and so I knitted the flower vest. So just let me put away my whip. The flower vest, so first of all, this is a beautiful pattern. Let me show it to you. This is a beautiful pattern of a sort of slipover, and as you see, here it's open, and we have these long I-cords that we can tie both on this side and on the other side, and and then you can tie like this, and the vest will stay open on the side. It's very oversized, and underneath I'm wearing a very nice and big and oversized shirt, which I love. And I think that the most beautiful detail here is the flowers. All these flowers are embroidered at the end when you finish the piece. And I also love the long ribbing detail, which is a 2x1 ribbing, both on the front and on the back. And the back is slightly longer than the front, and I think it's a very nice finished touch. So How do you work this piece? This piece is worked. First of all, you work the front from bottom to top, and while you're coming to the top, you start shaping the neck, and then you do the same with the back. So you start from the bottom and you go up, and you start shaping the neck from the bottom, and then you do the Kitchener stitch, to just seam the front and the back all together. Then you do the flowers, and then you do the ties, and then you do also the collar here, to which I have applied some elastics, because I thought it was a little bit too, how can I say, slouchy maybe, yeah. Yeah, about the yarn, at the beginning I was very unsure about what yarn I should use, because it was an iron weight. I think, yeah, the suggested yarn is iron weight, but the gauge was very similar to a bulky weight, because it was 14 stitches per, I don't remember the number of rows. So at the end, I decided to go with something I had never used before, which is an unspun yarn. So just give me a second and I'm gonna show you the yarn that I've used and the swatch I made for the vest. Here's the yarn. Maybe if you're wool trained, you recognize the Manchelopis by Wool Dreamers. I've already shown you this yarn on my Instagram account, which is at Elisa Knitting Stories, and yeah, in this beautiful color, which is a natural cream. It's a very like warm white, I would define, yeah, a very warm white, and I used less than 2 discs of Manchelopis. What I loved about Manchelopis is the fact that it's just let me find the beginning of the, yeah, oh, that's a mess. Yeah, where is that? Okay, here, the beginning of the disc. As you can see, Manchelopis is made, the Manchelopis discs are made by 2 strands of yarn already together on the plate, and I think this is very useful, especially if you're using for the first time unspun yarn, exactly like me. So Manchelopis is this beautiful unspun yarn, very soft, is not itchy at all, and it's very delicate. Like, it happened that when I was working with it, it would separate and break, but it just you just had to rub your hands, to rub the thread in your hands for a couple of times just to put it back together, and it's okay. And I loved working with that, especially because it was so soft. Probably it was easy for me to work with this yarn, even if it was the first time for me to work with unspun yarn, because I'm a very loose knitter, so I didn't pull the yarn too much. And yeah, the final result, I just love that. So this is the gauge that I made, and you can see I just love the texture. And I also love the fact that in this case, as if you saw some of my previous podcasts, you would know that I don't like gapey fabrics. But in this case, I just love the fact that it's a little bit see-through, exactly because this, the final result is a sleepover, and this yarn is very warm. And so I wanted a layering piece which should have been not too warm and not too cold, and this is just the perfect middle way, we can say, to that. So yeah. About the yarn, I just love that. I think I'll use that again, especially because I still have 2 entire plates of this yarn, and maybe I will do like a shawl or something like that, or I will buy the same yarn in other color just to make maybe a striped garment, because I've never did anything striped. But yeah, I just love that. It's definitely recommended if you're going to knit this vest. And yeah, it's just amazing. I'm loving this piece. It's like I decided with this piece, I decided to take part also in my first knit along, which is the well-loved Woolly Knits knit along, the knit along by Woolly Knits and well-loved knits. Because I really find that this piece, this vest, was what was missing from my wardrobe. Like, I already had a vest, which is the vest number 2 spring edition by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and that is very elegant, I think, maybe also because I used mohair. Well, this one is very flowery. It's like me in spring. I love wearing flowers. I love wearing like dreamy and romantic garments, and this is just perfect. It's what was missing from my wardrobe, and I'm sure I'm already giving it so much love, and I'm sure I will go on giving it so much love in the future. So yeah, this was my first finished object, and yeah, I'm just loving it. I'm just so happy I was accepted to the test knit, and that the garment turned out so well. So we will have to wait a little bit for the release of this piece, because Fiber Tales is currently moving to another house in Denmark, and so she's telling us that she's very busy with that, and we believe her. We absolutely believe her. Moving is just that just makes you so tired, and it's going to be very hard to focus on work and focus on like writing a pattern, which is something that requires so much attention and focus. So yeah, but well, definitely recommended. Keep an eye out. I will post other pictures on my Instagram account, and I will of course tell you when the pattern will come out in the future. So yeah, this was the flower vest, my only finished objects, but my only and well-loved finished objects. So yeah, let's put the yarn right here. Okay. Then I have, so I'm just, I'm just a little bit embarrassed because I felt like shooting a podcast, but at the same time I don't have that many like whips and finished object to show. But in the end I told myself that if I felt like doing a podcast, I simply should have done a podcast, because that thing that you should like produce 10 garments in a month and have 80 whips on your needles. It's just something that I don't know, it's first of all something that is not for me, and something that would be impossible for my kind of lifestyle, which is very busy with university and work. And I think that it's right to show you that not everybody on YouTube or on Instagram is able to produce so many garments in a month or in 2 weeks. Of course, there will be periods in which I will have more time to knit, but this is not one of those. And so I just wanted to I just wanted to use this podcast also to remember that it's not necessary that you produce so many garments. Like, knitting for me is just about relaxing and taking my time, and for this reason like producing objects, yes, in the end it's important because I want to see the finished objects and the finished result, but like if for a month I'm not able to produce anything, it means that I didn't have time, and it means that it's okay like that. I don't have to feel judged, or I don't have to feel like less than somebody else just because somebody else has produced many more garments than me. So this was all to say that I just have, for today's podcast, I just have a finished object and 2 whips. Starting with the whips, maybe I can start, with something I was telling you I was planning in the last episode of my Knitting Stories podcast, which is something which is not for myself, something which is for my nonna. So if you remember, I had 2 plans for my grandparents. One was a scarf and the other one was a vest number 2 spring edition for my nonno, for my grandpa. And unfortunately, as I told you, life got in the way, and I wasn't able to start the second vest number 2 spring edition for my nonno, but I've started and I'm almost in the middle of the project I'm finishing up for my nonna, which is a scarf, and it's the Victoria scarf by Holst. And this Victoria scarf is made with Holst Garn Coast in this beautiful color, which is crimson. And this is the yarn. So I don't think I will talk much more about this garment because I've already talked to you about the Victoria scarf in the previous podcast, and oh gosh, what a mess. Beautiful piece, elongated cables. I'm doing it a little bit longer just because for my nana I want a shawl rather than a scarf, but we're almost there. Like when I will be in the middle, it will be just easier because I will have to work just decreases and it will be very much faster. So the Victoria scarf, again, it was a test knit that I did for Holst Knits, and I just love the pattern, and I knew when I first knitted this garment that I would have made many more. So first whip, it's ongoing. It's not gonna take long, but I will have a problem with that, and I will tell you in a few minutes. And actually my main whip at the moment is what I'm currently working on. It's my main whip, and is something for my boyfriend's graduation. Actually, my boyfriend will graduate on the 4th of May, so it's not gonna be long, and I'm knitting for that day. I wanted to wear something that I knitted for myself, and I decided to go for like tank top kind of sleeveless top. But at the same time, I wanted something very elegant that I could wear under a jacket, under a blazer or something like that. And I chose the twist loop top by Other Loops. This is my whip. As you can see, it won't take much longer, but I still have the double hem here, and on the other sleeve. So that part is going to take me a lot, and I know that. But as for the length, I just tried it yesterday, and it was almost okay. So I'm not planning to go all the way down to 51 or 52 centimeters. I don't remember what the pattern suggests. So about the pattern, so for me it was the first time knitting something from Other Loops, but I love their writing style. like it was very easy to follow. Also there's a chart which is very easy to follow. It's very like big. It doesn't present any problem with I don't know, any view problem, any viewing problem, or so on. And the chart basically is just for the central part for these beautiful cabled details, which is repeated 3 times in the pattern. For the rest, the garment is just a ribbed top. First of all, you start knitting. Just give me a second. You start knitting these leaves, the part of the shoulder on the front, and then you start with the front, then you start with the back, and everything is done with a provisional cast on. And yeah, then you join in the round and you start going down in the round. It was a pretty basic construction for me. Like I did something similar for camisole number 7, if I'm not wrong, or number 5 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, you know, the famous one, which is very similar to this one, but it's just ripping. Yeah, the pattern was very well written. The fact is that is the yarn. Like the yarn that is suggested is a cashmere yarn, and it was very expensive, and I couldn't buy that yarn, so I decided to try another Knitting for Olive yarn. So I've already used Knitting for Olive Merino for my vest number 2 spring edition. And I decided, since I wanted this to be a very springy garment, I decided to go with the cotton merino, which really caught my eye because of the cotton content. Like it's 70%, and I've just tried yarns with a 50% cotton content, and so I went for that. The problem with the yarn was the color. Like, let me just show you the last ball that I have here. It is, the color is Piglet. It's, as I was telling you, 70% organic cotton and 30% wool. It's like every Knitting for Olive yarn, which is not pure silk, which is not mohair, is 50 grams per 250 meters. And yeah, so the color, I spent like 3 days trying to choose the perfect color for this piece, because I wanted a neutral color, but at the same time I was worried it would have been too much close to my skin. And so I decided to go for this color because on the website it appeared to be very yellowy, and I don't think my skin is very yellowy. It tends more towards like pink and red, like when it's very sunny outside, or when I'm doing sport and fitness activities and so on. I just become very red on my cheeks. So I decided to go for that, but when it arrived to my house, to my home, I just opened the package and I thought, oh my god, it's just very close to my skin. I don't know if you can tell that. So I had like a major breakdown for this reason, and because like it's not a garment that I want to use for like my free time. It's a garment that I'm preparing for a very important moment in my life and in my boyfriend's life. So I wanted it to be perfect, and in the end it took me a lot of mental energy just to tell me the important thing is not what you're wearing. The important thing is that you want to make something special for that day, and so you should just try and do your best and look and just see how it's going to turn out. And if it's not going to turn out as you wanted, you could just change plan and use I don't know, use use a shirt or something like that. But in the end I decided just to go on and try to knit this garment, and I think that the final result is very well. And when I tried this garment, like, I thought it was okay with my skin, so I felt a little bit stupid because I was so worried about that. I was so I was so sad of the fact that this yarn was like my skin tone, but in the end it isn't. So just a little note for everybody: just try to knit, because sometimes yarn just change color or change appearance when they are knitted up, and this was the case. And I'm just loving this piece. I can see it. I can see myself wearing it as a layer piece or just by itself during summer. And yeah, plus the yarn is so soft and is so squishy. Like the cotton makes it very squishy, and at the same time the wool content makes it very like, it bounces back. I don't know how to say that. Yeah, it bounces back. The only thing is probably the gauge, because I had to work this with 2.75 millimeter needles, because I'm a very loose knitter, I was telling you before. And so yeah, 2.75 millimeter needles, which is very small, but I prefer I should say that I prefer working with small needles instead of with bigger needles. I don't know if I remember, but for this garment I used 6.5 millimeter needles, and I really like that because it was the right break from small needles. But in the end I was just like, okay, just give me my 3 millimeter needles, 3.5 millimeter needles, and I will be very happy. So that's it. But I think that we're okay also, because for spring and summer I usually prefer to knit with fingering weight yarn, and so that's okay, we're ready. So yeah, I guess after this very short update on my knitting life, it's time for the update that I told you before about my personal life, which is something very big for me, and also for my boyfriend. So for my master's degree I need to do a traineeship. So for those of you who don't know, I study arts museology and curatorship at the University of Bologna, and my dream would be to work in a museum. And yeah, so I have to do a traineeship at my university with the Erasmus program, which is a European program for young people, young students. Allowed me to start a traineeship abroad, and this is the reason why I'm like, the big news is that in a week more or less, on the 7th of May I will move to Amsterdam to work at an art gallery, and my boyfriend will come with me. So I'm very excited about that, but both because I will work at an art gallery, which is like a dream coming true, and because I will live with my boyfriend, and we've been together for such a long time. Like, we've been together for like 7.5 years, and we've met when we were like 17, and so it feels so weird to just I don't know, to just live with him, because we were just kids when we met. So the big news is that I'm moving in like a week, and I just wanted to tell you that because this will open probably many more possibilities to me, both from a working point of view and from also a knitting point of view, because I hope to find there many yarn shops that I could visit. Maybe I can also show you some of Amsterdam's yarn shops. And I know that there are a lot of events related to knitting, and I can't wait. I really can't wait, guys. And this is probably the reason why maybe in the next 2 or 3 weeks I won't have much time, because finding a house in Amsterdam is like crazy. It's like impossible. Like the rent is so high, and yeah, like for the first month we will stay at an Airbnb that we found at a discounted price, but after that we have to look for a house starting from the 1st of June. So yeah, this is going to be hard, and we live in very hard times actually. But yeah, so first of all, if any of you know about an apartment or studio or even a room for 2 people in Amsterdam, just, I don't know, send me a message, a DM or a comment down below, because I really need that. We really need that. And yeah, so my boyfriend will graduate and then he will start working. He's currently looking for a job, and I will start my traineeship, and then we will see how it goes, because sometimes you just have to like jump and see what happens, and this was really the case. But what I'm telling myself is that if it doesn't go as planned, I can just come back to my parents, and fortunately they still want me back, so this is not going to be a problem. Like, in the end, if it doesn't go as planned, it would just be an adventure, just an experience, and it will be useful, and I'm sure about that. And so this was the big announcement. I'm moving to Amsterdam, so yeah, I will probably show you something about that too on this channel, so be ready, be prepared. I'm very excited for that. So I guess this is the end of the podcast. I've probably bored you enough for today. So I hope you will have a great day. I hope you will have a great week. I hope you will have also some suggestions and advice for me. Yeah, of course, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, just please give it a like and press the subscribe button. You can follow me also on Instagram. My handle is @ElisaKnittingStories. There I post content every week, and you will have updates on the status of my current whip, and also on my travel to the Netherlands. And I'm very happy you stayed with me till the end. So thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one. And of course, happy knitting!